We're an eclectic group.
That's right. Attention, everybody. The views expressed on the show are not necessarily those of Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group, and or their affiliate and subordinate ministries and or nonprofits. Good morning.
Good morning.
Coming to you live from Acts Media Group headquarters here in the beautiful Springfield, Missouri. It's the Morning Drive with Matt and Jay. We're the hosts, Matt Jay. And the Valley. The Valley was too wide. They got a couple of special guests, and I do mean special guests on the show with us today.
I feel special.
Johnny Rooster and Tan the Man Gibbs over here.
Hi. Hi, guys. Am I allowed to crow while you're singing?
I guess. I don't care.
Did you give me permission to crow over your song?
No, I don't have to. I'm not worried about that. I figured if someone steals my song and makes it more popular, the whole point of the song is to for people to hear it and for it to praise and glorify God. That's the important part about all that we do here. Unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit. That's what we're about. And just remember, folks, if you donate between now and April 30th, we have a dollar-for-dollar match on our donation page. So go on there to axmediagroup.com and check it out. There's so much stuff that we do, and it's hard to mention it all, like one right after the other. I have to think about it sometimes. But
you have to think a lot of things sometimes.
Yeah, and then I got to do like 20,000 things at once.
You're a multitasker.
What?
Multi.
Multi. If I was a dog, it'd be a Maltese.
Maltese Falcon.
What was the title?
Topic today?
How the homeless contribute to society.
You know, that sounds funny. On first glance, you think homeless contributing to society?
Yeah. They're part of the hierarchy.
Is this what we'd call part of the food chain, or is that harsh?
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying we're eating them. I'm just saying different people have different roles in society.
Yeah, and if you were eating homeless people, shame on you.
Yeah, stop it. It's really bad for your health.
No
more. See how we went off to cannibalism.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, I think there's just enough serious and just enough goofy here at the table right now.
Well, I don't think a lot of people get the opportunity to see it for what it can be.
Yeah.
And we oftentimes listen to other people describing the problem from their perspective, and then then they say it so eloquently that we tend to eloquently stated things stick. Like if I used to say to my kids, I heard somebody else say it, and I said it's not illegal unless you get caught.
Which is not true. It is illegal no matter what.
Yeah.
It's just if you get caught, you're going to be charged with a crime.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so your point being with the homeless contributing to society, can you explain what are some specifics that they contribute?
What I see
Steve Schultz?
now we can put up a wall and refuse to see things because of what we've heard or heard other people say, or the costs or the detriment there is to society. But what I see as a cashier who works out, right on the edge of town, so there's homeless camps and stuff where I work, and we see a lot of homeless people. We see a lot of them, and what I notice is that one, I think most of them have some severe form of mental illness. So when I say mental illness, I mean things like schizophrenia, paranoia,
No birds in the room
sociopathy,
yet,
or what's the other one? Sociopaths and psychopathy. Is that
so
what
there's
it's called?
a lot of
Psychopathy
mental
is
illness
actually
among
pretty
the
cool way to say it.
homeless, but that still doesn't feel like they're contributing to society. It looks like they're taking away.
Yes, they
Just
are.
like a bird,
Well,
if
they
it
buy
drops
stuff.
in here and bombs somebody, that seems like it's taken away. But that can actually
Don't get us
add.
started on the
It
bird.
could actually add. Well, it was a comment already
Yeah.
made.
Well, one of the ways that we can look at it,
People
because
are talking about a bird.
Oh yeah.
in recovery we learn to Well,
Tanner Gibbs joined. Good morning, Tanner.
So one thing I do see is that a lot of people take the opportunity to help somebody who's less fortunate than themselves.
Okay. So you're saying people take the opportunity to help those less fortunate, and without those less fortunate, we are not able to make that contribution into their lives.
Right, and we're not able to see ourselves as more fortunate, to be grateful.
Okay, so our gratitude is based on looking at somebody else in a worse situation?
I think that can be, yeah. I think
It's
that
like,
can,
hey, man, I just went through a tough time, but look at this guy. He's homeless. It's
They
even
also
worse.
spend money. They spend money too. Just because they're homeless doesn't mean they're broke.
yeah.
That's true. I work at
Some
a,
of them have wads of money.
I work at a grocery store, and people that are homeless go in there and buy things. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And you know, some of them make quite a bit of money standing on the corners. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
They do.
The reason they choose homelessness is because many times I believe they are not fitting into a standard culture, a society that would require set hours for work,
morning, Michael Wood,
certain
Yep.
standards. They don't meet those standards, but they want to live independently from those standards.
Gianna Hale. if
Somebody
you're
who's
watching.
actually paranoid, though, who actually has clinical paranoia or clinical schizophrenia or clinical sociopathic tendencies, or who
Joe Getty.
actually have defects of the brain and mind, or even just extremely low IQ. Those people are unemployable, and people say, "Oh, well, improve yourself and get a job." Well, I beg to differ. Schizophrenia and paranoia are very hard things to manage.
I think what we're hearing you say then, Jay, is you can't just yell in your mind, get a job, to a person holding up a sign on a street corner saying desperate and
Yeah.
in need of help.
I think a better way to say it is give them a job.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that,
And
why?
if they're unemployable, then realize that's their situation. They wouldn't work in that job that you want to give them.
Or they would work in it, but they wouldn't. But the employer wouldn't be able to keep them.
Morning, Larry.
Because
They would
they're-
cost more.
Socially, they would disrupt the work environment
Yes,
and not be a
and be a detriment, an extremely a detriment. Yeah.
so the
That means
homeless.
the employer needs to adapt in that case. The issue with that is a lot of people are uncomfortable with those things, and they need to become more educated on them.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: is I have friends that have schizophrenia, which is the most
We got
one of
family.
the most extremes of the conditions
me.
that you've
No,
named.
that was him.
It's very common in homeless.
So you go ahead. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and that's because people think they're crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
isn't that a definition
and
of
another
crazy?
thing is they'll have these moments to where they'll stop and they'll be extremely uncomfortable because they will see something that will cause them to just be completely anxious and uneasy.
Yeah.
I have a range of emotions related to the homeless people I encounter when I'm at work. They're in my way and they're smelling up the place. And then 5 minutes later, I want to get them a cold cup of water and take
Yep.
care of them. I really do. I'm
There is a
going through this
conflict there.
range of emotions relating to these people that are in the way but then need help.
Yeah,
I
well-
want to help them and I want to scoot them away.
And they come and disrupt our workplace. They do are very disrespectful in many ways.
we've
They
got a text from Jim. They used to do the free store. And he said, when we did the free store, we found about 1/3 were veterans, 1/3 were adult autistic, and the remainder unemployed or undereducated.
PTSD is another thing that's very difficult to employ if
Act-
it's extreme, and that's common too.
Axe Media Group, Axe Television Network, and its affiliates are also very geared toward helping veterans and autistic. So that meets both of those avenues as far as how are we reaching
And
as
undereducated, because we got an online
okay, so
college
how
course now.
how is this ministry and this group helping in those areas?
We're
Well, I'm a member.
I'm kind
of
of
it.
new, guys, so I'm new to this ministry.
But we have a veterans show. Well, it's a veterans church that airs on Thursday nights and on Sunday afternoons, right?
Yes.
So on Thursdays it's from 6:30 to 8, and we've got and it's for first of all that we've got the veterans hotline, the suicide hotline and stuff going across the bottom, and also offering ears because it's ran by veterans.
So target audience is veterans.
Yes, target audience is veterans. Good morning, Kevin.
And then people, homeless veterans, autistic homeless veterans, is that even being talked about? Is that an area of need that we can even bring up?
No, I think people don't oftentimes realize that a large portion of our homeless are veterans who with PTSD.
Yep.
And a PTSD PTSD is a very, especially in veterans, is very unique because what happens? Okay, you have a platoon or a group of men that you are close to, that you trust, right? But then you're also mixing that very close-knit group of men that you trust and work together with life-threatening, true, serious life-threatening circumstances.
Yep.
So me being able to come back and assimilate into society and go work in a place around people that you can trust, being able to work around people you can trust, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be relaxed and at ease. Yeah. Sometimes being around a bunch of people you get along with and trust can be the exact circumstances that would cause a PTSD reaction. All it takes then is a noise or whatever. And PTSD is also
so then the group that's attempting to help would trigger the negative.
Yeah, some things can
because it is a
group.
It
depends on the extremity and the person.
So then you're saying it's not an easy process to try to reach out to those people that need the help because
a lot of people really forget about the fact that they are human beings as well. You know, they and
I'm guilty of that. I
am too.
If I see somebody that's unpleasant and unsightly, I don't want them in the public in front of us. I want them out of the way.
And a lot of people are like that.
In my mind, I'm like, please get out of our way so we can do this process that we need to do. Then we'll take care of you, but get out of my way so I can get done the important stuff. It's like the adults are talking here. Yep. Go to bed, kids. It's like
and that's the thing is that
mentality.
God works a lot of the times with things that we would see as interruptions in our life, whenever they're really just things that God is putting in our place that we are supposed to interact with, that we are blessed to be a blessing to other people. Yeah. Because, like, we feel like even if we're in debt, for example, like, we feel like, oh, well, I have, like, $20,000
That's a good point, Kevin.
Of student loans to pay off. I don't have enough money to help these people. But the reality is, do you have a house? Do you have food in your fridge? And if your answers are yes,
clean water,
then the answer is help them.
Yeah, you don't have to have much to help somebody.
Right, exactly.
Kevin Saxton comments, from what I have seen, mental and this is a very good point. Some of this we don't think about this. Mental illness is a big factor. Drug addiction also. If a person remains homeless for a long period of time, they develop mental illness and loss of hope.
True. Yeah. And the loss of hope is a huge thing.
Depression and anxiety are incredibly easy to build in those situations.
Drug addiction is often a coping mechanism for those things.
I met a gentleman a little younger than myself. He looked 15, 20 years older than I do. He was been homeless because of circumstances where his family wouldn't allow him to live with them. That spiraled downward, and it made it worse. Yeah. He had a felony, and he couldn't get a job, but he tried to get help from family, and they rejected him.
Now, there are jobs that will hire you as a felon.
True. Yeah. That is true. But if he didn't have a place to stay in his family and he didn't have any money from a job, he didn't have a good foundation to get back somewhere to look presentable. Yeah. He became unpresentable, alcohol addicted, and was trying to fight that. So I don't know.
So Steve Schultz says, homeless people can change. We just need to give them a chance.
Well, can they change if they're mentally ill?
Yes.
They can be treated.
Speak more to that because...
Well, here's the thing, too, is, okay, so I know people with PTSD, obviously not from war, but I do know people who have gone through certain things that have caused them to experience trauma. And a lot of them, they have to go see psychiatrists and psychologists in order to be treated of their trauma. It is a process. Whether or not you can treat that in such a way to where they're still able to function in society, they're still able to. Even whenever they're experiencing trauma, they just aren't able to function to the ability that they would have if they weren't experiencing the trauma.
It's important to get treatment for PTSD because PTSD is the kind of thing, okay, so suppose I have PTSD, right? Well, a lot of times that's from a situational or an environment that you were in where you suddenly didn't feel in danger but actually were, and you were harmed in some way. So, for instance, I could be sitting here and you could drop your head and laugh a certain way, and all of a sudden,
That triggers you.
that is so similar to an experience where I was where I was hurt badly
Yeah.
and traumatized, that all of a sudden, not only do I emotionally go into the same state that I was at that moment, but also I see it.
Yeah. And
Vividly.
actually emotional danger goes into that as well. Like not necessarily physical, because I've seen people with cases to where it's because of their environment and how people are treating them in their environment, not physically, but even just psychologically and emotionally. And another thing is with how people use substances, not even substances only. Sometimes they use safe coping mechanisms, but they use
Misuse
it
them.
like a drug.
Yeah.
You know, they use it until they're basically in a state to where they don't acknowledge their trauma, which is an issue that I've seen personally. And the thing is like coping is good, but whenever your coping mechanism becomes the solution, whenever you're feeling that way, you've immediately turned it into a drug, an addiction.
And
Really.
what we're talking about here, guys, if you're just tuning in, is homeless. How do they contribute to our society?
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because it feels like on the surface that homeless take away from our society. They're in our way, and we're talking about ways that we can actually approach what does society do?
Because
A
I
lot of people
believe-
ignore homeless people. They
I
choose to
believe
put
that
them out of their minds.
compassion and empathy and sympathy are some of the greatest gifts that God has given us.
Yes.
Almost every Christian is going to regurgitate and say, of course I have those. But then if there's something that's really out of line, you've got that experience at your workplace. Sometimes somebody's acting out and they're mentally ill and they're homeless.
Yeah.
Okay, and I work in the trucking industry, right?
Oh.
And I deal with drivers a lot, so it's not just homeless people that have these
Well,
problems.
drivers live in their trucks.
Yes, so
But they're also isolated, and probably oftentimes
They're
I
very
imagine
isolated.
that job is suited to them because they're not around other people, so other people don't react as much.
But it also
to
can
them.
cause issues because they're
Yeah.
stewing on things that bother them for 10, 11, 12 hours. And so the first person that they see with any kind of authority or someone that lend them the ear, and and I catch myself doing this too, and it's the same way with homeless people where they start talking to you and you're thinking, oh, just stop talking right now. I've got stuff I got to do. Let me
Yeah.
do this. And then
How do we approach that when we have stuff to do? Like Tanner, there's business that has to be done. We can't just say, oh, we've got compassion. We need to stop everything and help this crisis.
Right, and you can't.
Sometimes we got important business, too, that really does
but
meet the
you can do
customer's
little
needs.
things that do not take any time at all.
Yeah, and that's why I also think that whenever you're in the middle of those things, what you can do is you can even just tell them, okay, I will be back whenever I am done with this, or even just do a little thing and then assure them that you do want to help more. There's somebody who's been kind of an inspiration for me for this. His name is John Higginbotham, and he had a vision from God of a whole structure for a homeless ministry.
That's a big. I would really have a hard time. With
Higginbotham.
John
that's a hard
Higginbotham.
name to say. I was just thinking.
But that's his name, John Higginbotham. He had this vision for this homeless ministry, but it wasn't only reaching out to their physical needs. So it's called God's Bucket Brigade. Their website is God's Bucket Brigade.
God's Bucket Brigade.
God'sBucketBrigade.org. And it's a homeless ministry that reaches them not only with their physical needs. So he has these big, 5-gallon buckets that he
Right.
fills with all these needs of theirs. But he also puts a scripture in there. He also puts a Bible in there, and he witnesses
well,
to them.
a lot of churches will do that too. Our church does that.
Okay, I might be playing the devil's advocate just for the sake of a discussion, but why do ministries put in Christian stuff that do the homeless people receive that, or are they just trying to get some food and clothes and then
A lot
they're
of
like,
them.
oh yeah, get
A
on
lot
with your
more
religious
than you
junk.
would realize receive it.
So
Yeah.
are there cases
Yeah.
of salvations or
Absolutely.
Plenty.
breakthrough salvations or
And the cool thing with
Progress.
him is
Okay.
he doesn't only just give it to them, he actually talks to them, walks them through it, and he does this thing, I think it's weekly, and it's around where I live. It's called Church Under the Bridge, which is basically the homeless community, comes and they do a free, just a live church service for them to.
It's sort of a whole bad conception too. I think a majority of homeless that I've talked to are people of faith, and that's how they get through 9 degrees and 20-mile-an-hour winds in the middle of the night out in the open.
Would you say they're people of faith after being homeless and being destitute and reaching out to God?
Well, I
Sometimes
think some
like
of
an
both.
addict.
Some of both. Some of
Yeah.
them fall
Like, I
back
hit
on
rock
it from their
bottom.
youth because they realize they need God more than anything to get through what they're
I would relate that if you're incarcerated in prison and you know better and you look back on your early faith and you're like, yes, I'm embracing that faith.
Yeah.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I got to say real quick, is the static just going on in my
I am hearing a
ears?
hiss.
I am too.
Oh, I turned the AC on.
No, it's not the AC. It was the static that I'm hearing right now. But
Yeah, I hear it too.
anyway, it went off.
There it is.
Oh yeah, it was your phone.
Yep.
So
It went off.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the problem I'm having with the phone. That's why we're having
Can't-
a hard time calling people.
Shoot. It's too bad that can't be a
Because I
little
can do
easier
something. Let
to
me see if it's.
accommodate.
All right.
That sounds better.
I don't know if it'll actually.
know if it'll
let's see,
help.
Speaker out.
Technology. Oh, well.
ah,
I believe
again,
that
if you
God
guys are
can
just
heal.
if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about how do homeless people contribute to society? Well, they provide us a way to show compassion.
Having a
Can't-
hard.
They do.
It
do.
works now. We can do Skype to call people. Sorry.
I'm
That
glad
way.
we made a technological discovery right here.
This thing is bipolar.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of bipolar, there's a lot of people out there
Yes, very much so. I did
that
see
need help.
And Johnny, okay, for those of you who don't know, Johnny Rooster and I do a
That's
show
this
on
guy.
Monday mornings called The Morning Mouth with Johnny Rooster and Pastor Matt.
on Monday morning.
And it's mostly all goofy.
It is a very lighthearted.
So, and I'm doing good not interrupting people and being goofy during serious talks today. I'm very proud of myself.
Very good.
I'm very proud of myself.
Yeah.
I think that I'm just doing amazing. Ask anybody. But
so
that's the best I can
the
do.
If
thing
that was an
is-
interpretation of somebody, I don't want to know who it was.
Trump.
I would
'Cause
say
it sounded
talk
a little
to
bit
and
light.
listen to homeless when you have a genuine opportunity.
And their stories are some of their stories are amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Steve McAllister, I'm catching up on all of our comments here. Steve O'Mickey Mac said, he reminded us that, he suffers from PTSD.
Yes.
And he was heavily abused physically and verbally. Marcia says that at the Freedom in Christ movement in her program to break the stronghold of bondages, God can heal diseases that include mental illness. All medicine does is help with the symptoms of mental illness. You have to get to the root of the issues. That is true. Give them food, not money, is what Steve Schultz says. And then Marcia, my sister-in-law, says that she has 3 girls that were homeless and are now saved.
Okay.
So John Higginbotham actually said that the homeless a lot of the time will come to faith in the middle of being homeless, because
Like he said, that's how they get
so
through it.
people are coming to Christ and coming to faith
yeah.
because of that situation.
Well, they have something that that it's organic in their it's organic instead of forced in their case. In a lot of cases, it's forced for us, humility, which is something that a lot of the times we have a hard time with. But they're kind of forced into humility because of their situation, and
True. One viewer says something about that. Imagine being a grown man and having to beg for food. That'd be humiliating.
Okay, well, Kevin Saxton says, Kevin is a truck driver, and he goes all across the country. He says, when I get to talk to a homeless or see a documentary, the number one thing that they always say, people don't treat them like they're human. He said, I was approached by a young man in Arizona who was hungry and thirsty. By the time I made it back to him with the food, he was passed out from hunger and thirst. The bad thing was the people who worked there were laughing. Lucky for me and the young man that there was an ER nurse there that showed up to help him. Just because I treated him like a man, the young man refused from getting an ambulance from getting into the ambulance without me. Just treat every person. Sorry, I was having a hard time reading it. Treat every person as they are your father,
Wow.
or as your relative, or as your sister, as your mother. I agree with that.
How
Treat
about your friend.
and your friend.
Well, it's hard to relate that sometimes because we get this culture of sanity and
Morning, Susan Burrows.
what do you want to call it? Sobriety, sanity, and cleanliness. And we don't want to jump over onto that dark side of society.
Right.
Well, there's a truck stops, and some truck stops are actually opening up their showers for the homeless during this time.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
to help them keep clean.
I've always thought about that. My wife and I took a road trip and we were doing the Rough It thing, and we didn't have access to showers. And we were sleeping in our van, and we were doing this by choice, but we were thinking, gosh, that's the worst thing is not access to getting clean. So that's a huge need.
Give the homeless food and clothing first. Then they will not be distracted from hearing the word, regardless of their choice. You have done the right thing. That is from Dr. James R. Whining, or Jim, as we call him, here, the president of Acts Ministry. And I agree with that. That's why at Freeway, at First Baptist Church, we feed them first. We give them food first. We don't require that they
Sure.
stay.
Yeah.
But we show them love and treat them with respect
And dignity.
and dignity.
I like that because you're not forcing them to receive what you want them to
Is your
have.
microphone okay, Jay?
I don't know.
It's not working.
Is it?
It's not
We
good.
can, yeah.
You want to
It's
twist
no
it back
good,
together?
Jay. No good, Jay. No good. It's no good.
All right, do it again.
Okay.
Here's a mic, no good.
Yeah.
Testing.
That's better. That's better.
Welcome back, Jay. Welcome back, Cotter.
Welcome back, Cobber.
Cobber. I like it. You're very, very sharp. For having,
No, I just speak without
How's
thinking.
that?
You work
better.
overnight and you're still sharp.
All right.
Yeah, sorry. I was like, hey, it sounds like your mic's not even on, and it kind of wasn't.
He's on his second wind.
I got my second wind.
Sometimes a second wind is a fart. I'm just saying.
Can they look that up? Petra, Second Wind. It's a good song.
Petra is a good. That's a good
Look it
group.
up. They got
Petra
a song
was a
called
great
Second
group, yeah.
Wind, and most people don't know that song, but it's a good song.
I saw a T-shirt one time out of a Christian catalog. It said, it said, and then God said to Adam, "Pull my finger," and on the 8th day, He created the winds. It was in a Christian catalog.
So it has to be funny. I
Well,
mean, it's
I thought it was
appropriate.
hilarious. A lot of people, I
Oh, I know.
I
It's a
apologize if
little
it
too
offends you.
much.
God does have a
If
sense
my
of humor in
finger
that.
offends you, pull it.
So,
Whoa, whoa.
That was awesome.
That
That
was
was
a
fun.
quotable
No.
Johnny Rooster quote.
That needs to be a bumper sticker.
kind of thrown in the middle of our
you know,
dialogue.
it surprises me whenever I listen to music from bands that they play on the radio, how many of their good songs don't get played on the radio.
They call them deep cuts, but they just don't get the really good choppy stuff. Sometimes
Yeah.
the really more organic stuff.
It doesn't make any
It's
sense.
the polished stuff that makes the airwaves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And their polished stuff isn't even always as good.
Well, it's singable, but you're right.
they
like
just
our
go
CD
for
that we made sounds like a live deal.
The true
Done
band,
at Jay's house.
a lot of band members are telling me their passion doesn't it gets exploited in a little package
yeah.
and thrown on the air with something really pretty sprinkled on. I think that's our Christian walk in a nutshell. If we really
Larry.
have the passion like a band, we're really playing our hearts out for Jesus, but the messages all have to be really pretty. That's church.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, for a lot of people, it's
But-
very pretty. It's very sanctioned. It's very clean.
Yeah.
How do we
Comfortable.
really reach? That's what we're talking about here. Reaching those people that are maybe they're not even ready for the church experience or never will be.
That's
Yeah.
why you got groups like Midtown Recovery Ministry. It is a church experience,
Okay.
but it is, the people that run it, everybody, they're not your normal.
They're
It's
the
not the-
rejected.
Yeah,
The castaways.
and they're yielding amazing results spiritually
Yeah.
there. They feed the homeless. And they have all kinds of stuff. They have all kinds of stuff. They clothe the homeless, and it's mainly homeless and addicted people that go there.
Yeah.
Okay, then why do we have mosquitoes? We can go on.
Mosquitoes suck.
So There
They
is
feed the birds.
an uncomfortable connection between humiliation and humility that a lot of people don't like going off of, and
A
that's that-
connection between humiliation, like being humiliated,
and
being humble.
and being humble.
Humility.
Because whenever we are humiliated in a lot of cases, and that would be like opening up about something that we've done wrong, even, which is the most common form of humiliation, really, it humbles us. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why it comes from the same root of the word. And I actually
we realize
heard this
our own
great,
deficit. Our own deficit is
Morning,
in
Linda
our
Fleetwood.
face,
I
the
don't remember
mirror.
who said it. There was this. It was actually, I don't remember what he said exactly, but Spurgeon, you know, the
Yes.
famous Baptist preacher, he actually had a quote about humility
Sounds
and
like
its
the name of a
relationship
fish.
to and its humiliation, and actually how sometimes, even if it's uncomfortable, if we take heed to it, then it actually can be beneficial to us.
If you're now, Matt is your dad, but we don't tell anybody that, right? Oh, sorry.
When were you going to tell
It's
me
a
about
secret.
this, Tanner?
If he wore that shirt as a goldfish, and I would name him Spurgeon.
Oh,
Well,
Like
his first
Spurgeon
name is
the goldfish.
Charles.
I think Spurgeon or
Charles
that's a
Spurgeon?
sturgeon.
Oh, Sturgeon the gold.
Sturgeon is a gold.
Sturgis is the bike rally.
Spurgeon
I'm
is
sorry.
actually also a college. It's on
Sturgis
the.
is
It's
actually
on,
a town, right?
Sturgis
It's
is a
on-
town in South Dakota.
Yeah. And
Are we doing geographical?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It's on Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary's land. It's all together.
This isn't Jay. This isn't necessarily deliberate sabotagery. This is John Roostery.
no, I'm good. This is good.
This is kind of like breakery of the mentality.
Yeah.
Get back on trackery because I cock-a-doodle dooery. You guys sometimes
Can
if
you imagine
you get
talking
new words like
and adding "uri" or "ism" to every?
I think
it'd be
though,
homelessnessism, and we need to address the homelessnessism.
but looking at it honestly and seeing it, and that's why I say talk to somebody who's homeless. You can see pretty quickly when you do, and don't say get a job. Say I'll give you a job. If you can't say I will give you a job, then you need to understand that there's something wrong there. And when we start to see what is really wrong and why the reason for homelessness and what it really is, we can start to see that in people around us who are succeeding and aren't. We can see the smaller or the less significant or the the tip of the iceberg and understand what's under it.
I agree. I wanted to think about something specifically about that. The man that I got to know named Richard, who is homeless, he's embarrassed by panhandling. He doesn't like it. He
Yeah.
feels threatened and humiliated to have to do that. There are others who are seen on street corners frequently and doing well as an enterprise, making that their thing.
Yeah.
But they're not homeless. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I do see what bothers me a lot is when I see somebody using food stamps to pay for expensive food at our store and then buying 3 times that much worth of lottery tickets. That bothers me. I understand that gambling is an addiction, and I do understand that, but it does really bother me.
And it bothers me in some ways that somebody could frequent a corner and collect money and then move on. However, that's a legitimate business in the city of Springfield, for example. The former mayor talked to me about that and said there's nothing they can do, but it's not on the up and up. It's not as they say.
They can't now. Well, see, they
It's
can
sort
now.
of fraud.
They can now.
I think we
Okay.
have a customer that is
And
a professional panhandler.
yeah, and you
kind
you
of
have
feels
to get a permit.
fraudulent.
Well, but nobody's mentally ill. There's something seriously wrong with him. As somebody I see daily, I can
But
tell you, I would not offer him a job.
But are you talking about people that are legitimately using a system to collect money? That's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When they probably shouldn't be committing. To me, I think it's kind of fraudulent to present that you're desperate and you're not.
If you don't need, if you are capable of working a job, you should get a job.
Because there's, all right, for example, there's some people that we talk to and
Yeah.
offer them a job and they shy away because they just want the money. Because
Yeah.
they're really not doing
Yeah.
a legitimate, they don't want that kind of help. They just want money.
They want
And
handouts.
so one of the,
There is
one of the
some of
viewers said,
that.
give them food, not money. That's good. Give them a job, not food. That's even better, but it's not always possible.
Teach them to fish.
Yeah.
I,
the
in
old
particular,
I think it's a legitimate way for them to survive and prosper. I
What
mean,
were you
I
saying,
still,
Tanner?
I would
what is
still,
the panhandling?
yeah, I would still say if you see a
Even if it's somebody that doesn't have the desperate situation that they're promoting.
no, now that no.
That's what
No,
I'm talking
yeah,
about.
they
That-
don't-
But I can see somebody prospering from panhandling
Yes.
and still being unemployable, and that is
Yes.
their best
Yes, if they're
opportunity to
got a-
thrive,
Yes.
I agree, but
and
I
that they
honest-
may thrive as a result of it.
Go ahead.
Well, I just don't see how people could say they're not desperate, and so they just want to stand on a corner and ask for money. And that just sounds, I don't know. To me, like, if I'm gonna have money, I want to work for it, and standing on a corner all day, like, I might as well be working a job
That is
if
work.
I'm going to be standing right, and it's boring work at that. Wouldn't you rather have a more interesting
Humiliating.
job than standing?
See, now
on a
we're
corner?
commenting on their state of mind and why they do it, and I don't honestly know, Tanner. I don't know why.
because if
A lot
you
of them have had
can-
many jobs and been fired because people can't work with them.
What are you talking about? I'm not talking about the homeless that do. I'm talking about the people who actually
do it.
are able to work a job and do it anyways.
Yeah.
Because I would never comment on the homeless that do it.
And then get in the Corvette and drive away.
well, it does
Right,
make it
'cause I
look,
understand.
as they say, look bad. For,
Yeah,
looks
well, you
bad
remember
for
the negative way
yeah.
more than you remember the positive.
It's like I'm reticent. I'm hesitant. I don't want to give money now because these people
That
are
is not
con
the
artists.
majority, though. That is far from the majority.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and
There's
that's why
probably
there's a
one
whole.
out
I
of
like
thousand.
to. I like to think that I can tell them apart.
That's probably 1 out of 1,000 or even less.
You know, the
I don't
thing
know
is,
about that.
is whenever you see someone standing on a corner panhandling and you know them personally, and you know that they're
I thought about
They're
doing that
not-
just for fun. You know, just
that they're not really that hard
like
up.
we'll work for toilet papers.
But
the
see,
sign
that-
I would put up.
But like
Yeah,
he said,
just
that
for
is
fun.
definitely not the majority.
Uh-uh.
The majority of the people, and I had a gentleman ask me before I quit drinking and all that stuff. I had that same thought. I thought of all of them as, you know, in my eyes, I saw everybody that panhandled as somebody that just wants free money, you know, and that's not the case. Like he said, that is not the majority. And I had a guy. He said, "Look, I lost my job. My wife kicked me out. I don't have any money. It's been a really rough week. Can I borrow some money for booze?" And I gave him money for booze. I should now. If they asked me that now, I wouldn't. I'd be like, I'll give you a hug.
Well, see, that's why we're afraid. Some of us are cautious about giving out money to strangers because of that.
Yeah.
They're going to
Yeah.
use it for an addiction. We'd rather give them food.
Yeah.
And if they refuse that, I want to tell you this. I have had someone refuse food.
If they refuse food, then they're just in it for money.
And so that means if, as you say, 1 in 1,000, I encountered that 1 in 1,000 pretty easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
just saying,
because
I'm kind of
Yeah, but is that really what that means? Can you
I don't
assume
have any idea
all
how
of
to
that
comment on it
from
other than that's
Say food
where
or clothes.
that was the situation.
If you offer them between food, water, and clothing, and they reject all of those, then there's probably something else going on. They probably have some sort of, well, I don't know.
It's hard to interpret what they're doing.
Right.
What kind of weather was it?
May 5th,
I mean,
Convoy
they
of
may be
Hope.
looking to
Hot.
raise money
Convoy
to get
of
a
Hope will be
hotel
at-
room.
Convoy of
'Cause
Hope
there's-
will be at Northwest Baptist on May 5th.
Well, that's
85,
another
90
reason-
degree day.
That's another
Yeah,
reason
some air
why
conditioning would be nice on that kind of day.
we're supposed to help the homeless in a lot of ways, and there's a reason why we're supposed to help them in as many ways as we can. And there's this other principle of and I obviously be
comment on
cautious
Larry?
with this. The reason that I'm so hesitant is because you
I just
obviously
did,
need to be cautious.
But
with
everybody
this
else was talking at the
And-
same
Okay.
time.
and look at the situation. But
Because that's why I said Convoy of
There
Hope
was
will
this-
be at Northwest Baptist on
there
May
was this
5th.
woman who was on the side of the street. It was winter time, okay? She is with her dog
You remember
on
hearing
the
it now?
side of the street, freezing cold, okay? Obviously, she is in need of help. So we have our
Morning,
we
Josh
had our
and Janine
house
Moore.
open. We had our house open for her. So we let her stay over there, and we helped her get back on her feet.
Okay.
And we help to raise money.
So you're
that
doing
she
more
could
of a commitment.
Stay in a hotel room. Obviously, we raise money so that she could have her
Okay.
own hotel room for a while.
So challenge to the listeners and viewers. If you encountered a homeless person that legitimately you could help, would you do it? Beyond just giving them money or food and
Yeah.
driving away, would you
Yes.
do something beyond that?
absolutely.
I want to challenge people that are watching this to consider that question.
Right. Well, God calls. God.
I don't
want
want to
have
hold
our
them
houses
accountable
be-
for it. I just want them to consider it.
Well, God calls us to have our houses open for those who are in need.
Yes, but
But
how
you-
are
well, you have to be careful.
Safety.
Yes, obviously.
okay?
So
Right,
That's
exactly.
why
I would do something, but if I had small children in my home, I wouldn't do the
right,
same thing.
There's a
Right.
difference.
Start-
Exactly, and I understand.
Start
that.
with safety.
Yeah, and even for your own sake. So I would say you need to be extremely cautious and careful in the situation. But we are.
I want to let a guy, if I lived in an apartment, I'm just saying, I live in a rural area, but if I lived in a city and there was somebody that I knew regularly that was dirty, I'd want him to come up and take a shower. I really would. That's just me. That's how I would meet their need. I say, I don't want to make a deal of it. Would you want to just come in and take a shower and get cleaned up? That's seriously, it's like a friend of mine, he has a pickup and he said, I want to help you move. And I know, because he knows most people don't like to help people move. It's a
Yeah.
joke. He says, I sincerely want to help you move. And
Now,
I'd say,
I'm going to take
I don't
this
know,
opportunity
meet
right
a
now.
need.
Okay, now this is a really bad time to interject. Now we did do a commercial for Acts Ministry, Acts Media Group when we first started. But I want to make sure I get this our website address up there. ActsMediaGroup.com is how you can donate to us, and you'll be able to see where your money is going.
And so that would not be on Facebook. It would not be on YouTube. You would go to your web browser,
Yep.
the web
Acts Media
address
Group. Yep.
thing, and put in
ActsMediaGroup.com.
axmediagroup.com.
Yep, and you scroll down, and on the right is the donate button. And until April 30th, we've got a $1 for $1 match.
Yes.
So if you let's say you donate $100, that would be $100 plus another $100 that a contributor is matching for the
And-
month of April.
What are if you $1 for $1 match, what specifically is it helping?
Well, it's helping. We have veterans programs, autism awareness programs.
Yeah.
We have the kidney fund, which helps to pay for the anti-rejection drugs for a person. We usually pick one person and do the fundraising for that specific purpose to pay for their anti-rejection meds, because that stuff is really expensive.
Axe Television Network, utilities,
Or pay the
rent.
copays. Sorry, pay the copays on there
Ah.
because the meds are real expensive.
Well, it looks like there's a big need for helping people, and that costs a lot of dollars.
Well, I tell you, our motto, we have mottos here, not just mottos, but principles that we run on. That is doing the right thing, serving where needed, and then spreading the message of unity in Christ through the Holy Spirit. That's what we're about here at Acts Media and Acts Ministry. Actually, Acts Ministry, because there's more than just Acts Media in Acts Ministry.
Yeah.
And we also, like I said, we had the veterans programs, the autism awareness programs. We have the Helping Hands Fund, which helps to offset the cost of particular natural supplements that people need to survive, essentially. Maybe not necessarily to survive, but to get off all those horrible medications. And there is a way that we
Who's
will
this
offset that. Huh?
So it is .bz?
Did I say .bz?
No, but is it?
I like the way you said it.
NaturalSolutionStore.bz is a place where you can go get the natural supplements.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I don't believe that it is limited to NaturalSolutionStore.bz.
No.
I think
okay.
it's called the Helping Hands Fund, and it's for more than just that's
to
the
help.
supplements. Yes,
I like the idea of beautifying the body of Christ. This
Yeah.
is where all of you can get involved in
yes,
helping out,
absolutely.
no matter what your brand of religion or faith.
Yeah, and we also want to continue to expand our programming here on Acts
Yes,
Media Group.
definitely.
So we got a couple of shows that are in the gates. We're getting ready to release them as soon as all this COVID stuff calms down. And, because I figure we got enough traffic going through this place at once right at the moment.
Yep.
Plus the people that are going to be hosting the shows some of them are older. Anyways.
And have
So
an
online,
underlying problem.
Absolutely. Go ActsMediaGroup.com, and you can also read the Real News Review, which is an online newspaper. We do have operation costs and things like that. We did do a commercial at first, but I did not have the banner up there. If you want to go right directly, you can donate with a credit card, or you can go to, and it's also PayPal. So every little bit helps. Dollar for dollar match. April 30th is when they stop doing that. So whatever is in our account that people have donated through the month of April will be matched dollar for dollar.
So John Higginbotham, and the reason that I keep saying him is because he's the expert that I know in this. He's the expert as it pertains to the homeless ministry that I know personally, and he says that in Independence, KC area alone, the last he checked, it was about 3,500 people who are homeless, which is a lot. But it's hard to. He says that it's hard to count because homeless is also hard to define, because there's people who live in their cars and there's people who are sleeping couch to couch, which is basically
and living in hotels.
Yeah, right. Which is still technically, I mean, it's still homeless, and a lot of those people that are doing that are still financially hard up, and they're still.
And
Hard.
some people choose homeless.
Some people do.
I know somebody that did. Able-bodied, sound of mind,
Yep.
young person. So, not a happy choice, not good results, but
Well, I mean,
shows that.
there's got to be
Kind
something
of like a
psychological
prodigal when you get out of high school.
there. Yeah.
I don't care. Leave me alone. I'm hitting the streets.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, I mean, I'm pretty
And
sure
is
there's
that
a lot
still
of
their
people.
choice today?
This young lady is who it is, and she has produced a new child every year from a different person,
Wow.
and has caused a lot of destruction.
And you don't think there's some mental illness there?
Good morning, Michael.
It's
or
hard-
PTSD? Or
hard to say,
Michael Phillips.
but
Welcome.
it could have been. It's a young person, had a good
There's
home,
probably, again, like
a
underlying
good,
issues,
good suburban Christian
some
home.
PTSD.
Well, here's the thing.
Jumped out of it. She was adopted as a child, so had some background. So,
okay.
Yeah.
so it's
Well-
not somebody that was born to this couple, and chose the streets.
Right. Well, here's the thing about
Tragedy.
that is like some people just. There are different cases, and that's to where like some people just choose to do things just because it's different.
Yeah.
And it's against
Adventure.
everything that what people. It's either adventure or
That's a good
because
point,
it's
Larry.
rebellion. It's
A cry for
people
hey,
who do it for adventure
Yeah,
usually
they
more
don't-
self-reliant.
the
though.
people had,
Right.
She felt coddled. She felt nurtured in the way that I don't need to be mother henned anymore. I'm going off on my own. So that's a reality, and it hurt some people.
Well, we'll pray
Michael-
for those people.
Michael Phillips said that
Thanks.
John Higginbotham is doing such an amazing work. In my case, well,
Michael
I don't
Phillips,
know
we've
that
had
he
him
wants
on the
me to
show
share
before.
the rest of that on here. You have? Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Talking about Michael Phillips from
Michael
Branson?
Scott Phillips.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Was
he
he the
has
one?
his own
What's his story?
production.
Yeah, he's been on the show. We
Yeah,
actually,
he knows tons of people that I know.
He's
That's
coming
why.
back.
We met him in Branson when we interviewed Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, was it, oh right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's Michael Phillips. Yeah, we had him on the show.
Okay, so what's his story?
Yeah, well,
how
it's
does he
not.
relate
It's
to
not
this?
connected in his case. He says, but he knows. He knows John
See
Higginbotham.
what Larry
And he
Melton
knows
said.
what he's doing. So
Don't
he just had
stretch
a
so
comment
far,
about
Matt.
it.
You might have to walk
Which
back.
actually, yeah, seriously, if you guys wanted to
Don't forget
talk
to
more
like
about
and
homeless
share.
ministries, and I
Yeah.
know you guys have a lot
Definitely.
of homeless ministries in
Don't forget to
Springfield.
like and share these videos, by the way. Go onto our Facebook or YouTube channel. Give it a thumbs up.
Talk through the commercials.
Subscribe. Yeah. We
After
that's
the
the only.
commercials. We
Well,
have
that's
to
the only
say
way.
that.
That's the
Yeah.
only way
Right.
people can get
That's the
anything
only-
said in here.
Right.
So they've
Well,
got it.
but
We're
seriously,
four interrupters.
I would say if you
We have
guys
to.
really want to,
That's how we do it.
if you guys want to have another homeless ministry on here, I know you guys have a lot of homeless ministries down in this area, but
we
I think
contribute
that
to them.
Yeah.
right. I know. I just think that it would
I
be-
mean, not just in my work. We work with
We-
the homeless.
yeah,
Could
we-
I, yeah.
I think Tanner's trying to make a point. Bring it home.
No.
Land the plane.
No, I was just saying. If you were more
sorry.
interested in talking
I
about,
apologize.
Let's whisper.
if you were no, you're fine. If you were more interested in talking about the homeless ministries going on up in the KC area or other parts of Missouri,
I think Springfield, Missouri has more homeless programs per capita than most any city.
Programs.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, okay, as a homeless person, there's a place you can go, and it's a different place every night. There's a place you can go for a hot meal every single night. Somewhere. There's on Mondays,
Can they get a
Tuesdays,
shower?
Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. and Sundays.
Anyways, my point
There are
is I
places they
could
can
probably
get
set up a
showers at.
meeting. If I could probably set up a time to where you could have him as a guest if you wanted.
Homelessness is not going to go away
Right.
from money.
Yeah. Who? Michael Phillips?
Jesus,
no.
Money won't make
John
it go away.
Higginbotham.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have
You
your
can't give
people call
everybody
my
a job
people.
in a house
We'll do
and it'll
lunch.
be all fixed because
I've always wanted to say
The
that.
Even
people-
Jesus said, "You will have the homeless always."
you'll always have the poor among
Yeah,
you, the homeless.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And our job is to take care of them, help them. All right, so
How,
it's
how are
time
we
for
doing
us,
on time?
well, it's time for us to get out of here. I know.
You
that-
turn the clock backwards. I can't see it.
Yeah, that was why I was trying to get him to
It's a
say
good
like
show.
and
We
share
could just go on for 3 hours because there's no clock to
if
look
I could
at.
turn back time.
If I
that's what
could turn. Can we do that?
No, don't do that because then
Okay.
we'll have
That
to
was
go to the
brilliant.
music.
Let's turn it
That was
back.
beautiful.
The-
I know,
you're-
it's
yeah,
very-
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even know what you're talking
It's
about.
reflexive on Johnny Rooster.
yeah.
Johnny Rooster, Monday mornings, Morning Mouth. We are regurgitatory singers.
Well, yes, we
we
are.
can't help it. It's
Um,
in my head.
It can't. Yeah, we can't help it. I think I'm going to be singing
I
a
can't
song
fight
next
this
week.
feeling anymore. Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
We don't
That's
know.
what we do. We do
Yeah.
stuff like that.
That's
I know.
That's funny
If
stuff.
you had
I mean,
all
we
the
need a
songs
good
from
air
our-
supply for this.
from our
This
it's important.
current. You know,
Yeah, do you know
Yeah.
you like
Issues
some
that we
air
have.
supply?
yeah, people are having.
It's
this
getting
just
harder.
be
and
sure
harder.
they
respiratory
say
No,
illness
it's
is
getting
going
harder and
around.
harder to breathe.
Just be sure that they know that God sent the rains down in Africa. So.
Yeah, I bless those rains.
You know. You should have-
Okay, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Toto, Kansas. We didn't say that.
That's an incredible
If you had
journey.
a 40, yeah.
We can do this all day long. All day long. It's hard not to.
Let's come sail away
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
with
with me.
No.
I'll
Well,
go
you
with
know, but when you're doing it, be sure to pick up sticks.
and the Stones. Don't be a renegade.
Don't hear any.
Don't be a renegade.
If you had 40 years worth of
That's
music
coming
in your
from the
head,
Queen.
seriously,
Yeah,
Tanner, it's so
I
hard.
know.
You cannot disconnect. Can you imagine having so much life and so much sound in your ears?
Yeah.
It just throws itself in front of you all the time. And younger people are like, what did you do? And you could make a reference to current music. I'd be like, what are you talking about?
To be honest, I don't know
It's like,
much about current music unless it pertains to Christian, country, and everything else is oldies.
Okay, so
Okay.
I'm not sure if you're actually quoting a song there or if you're.
Quote that song.
Yeah, name that tune. Was that a tune? No.
There was this
I
name.
am big on the Americana movement, which basically Americana is this conglomeration of American tradition of music. And it's really cool because they blend a lot of styles, and it's got a lot of old school feeling, but a lot of weird.
Makes
new,
you want to
unique
drive your
stuff.
Chevy to a levee just hearing it.
Yeah.
That is actually
American.
Americana.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Till
American
it's dry.
Pie.
Look it
Until
up.
it's dry.
Americana's probably my
Till the
favorite
levee's dry.
genre.
We're just good old boys.
Before it breaks, before the levee breaks, if it keeps on raining.
Yeah, we're meaning
He's going to make us leave.
Yep, it is that time.
we're meaning
Sorry,
no harm.
folks. I'd like to thank everybody for joining us on the morning drive today. We'll be back on tomorrow, same time, same channel. Be sure and tune in for a rerun of sorts next. Until then, my friends, God bless you and keep you.
We like
love you.
reruns.
My name is Matt,
My name is Jay.
Johnny Rooster.
My name is Tanner.
and this has been
The Morning Drive.